President Biden's plan to tax America's wealthiest could be dead on arrival. Senator Joe Manchin telling The Hill yesterday he does not support it, saying, quote, everybody has to pay their fair share, but unrealized gains is not the way to do it. Biden's pitch to pay for the $5.8 trillion agenda includes the largest ever tax increase in U.S. history. Joining me right now is The Hill editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack. Bob, great to see you. Thanks very much. You say this is going to be a major talking point for Democrats this election year. Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, Democrats have to run on something, and what are they going to point to? I mean, legislatively, yes, they had the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but a lot of that money is not going to be spent for years. The COVID bill passed along party lines, but we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So what do Democrats talk about? I think they talk about this billionaire tax plan. However, of course, Republicans can counter. They could say, hey, listen, you could have passed whatever you wanted if you united, and you didn't last year, and not this year either. So you really haven't passed anything significant. So I think this is a campaign talking point. You're going to see a lot of it. Obviously, Joe Manchin, not a fan of it, though.
Yeah, so where do you think this goes? I mean, Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez told Democrats that they need to dig in further. They need to go further in left if they stand a chance in the midterms. She told New York Magazine, quote, we need to acknowledge that this is not just about middle of the road. This is really about the collapse of support among young people, among the Democrat base. Bob, what do you think she's talking about here? And do you think the moderates are going to listen?
Well, I agree with AOC in this respect, in that Democrats are in trouble, and that's what she said in that interview, because the left is not liking that the White House is saying, no, we should fund the police. They have, in their new budget this week, they're proposing increases, significant increases in defense spending, partly because of Ukraine. So the Democrats are divided. The left is not happy. That means they may not show up come November. The moderates are scared they're going to lose their elections in Congress. So this is a real problem. The enthusiasm gap between Republicans and Democrats is depending on the poll, almost all polls have double-digit leads for Republicans. So overall, the way things are going right now, long way to go, but Democrats have they're not united, and they don't have a lot to point to legislatively, even though they control everything.
Yeah, Dagan McDowell.
Isn't AOC's problem, doesn't it exemplify what is going on within the Democratic Party? She suggested that Biden should issue more orders out of the White House, so she's essentially spitting on the role of Congress in all of this. That's, to me, just a sign of desperation.
Sure, and a lot of the Democrats, of course, complained when President Trump issued executive orders, and we've seen this from presidents going around Congress. And Joe Biden, I guess, in some ways, he doesn't have much of a choice because he has such slim majorities, has not been able to pass Build Back Better. They really haven't passed anything significant on health care as far as prescription drug prices, which they promised. So there have been, promises made, but yet not a lot of promises kept. And that's why everybody on the Democratic side is unhappy, especially because the president's poll numbers are in the high 30s, maybe recently low 40s. That's not going to cut it for Democrats who are in tough races.
Yeah, in fact, if the 2024 election was held today, a new poll finds that Donald Trump would beat both Biden and Kamala Harris. 47% of people said that they would support Trump, while 41% said they'd support Biden, according to a recent Harvard-Harris poll. Bob, how do you see it?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent recently that Trump is winning. And I talked to Trump, who called me a couple weeks ago, and he certainly did not say that he's not going to run. He was certainly implying that he is going to run, as he has said publicly. So, listen, he's beating Biden by about 6 points, and Harris by, depending on the polls, in the range of 10. So that's a problem for 2024, much less 2022.
All right, Bob, great to see you. Thanks very much. Bob Cusack joining us this morning from The Hill.